So this morning I want to go over the book of Daniel in Daniel 7, 12, also Romans 11 and Revelation 9, and it's concerning the misinterpretation of the 3.5 years, as they say, times, and half a time. Okay? And this misinterpretation, I believe, causes the Gentiles to get the script backwards. So we'll start in Daniel 7, verse 9. And I beheld until the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. Now many Christians actually believe that the Ancient of Days is Jesus or a Messiah. But the Ancient of Days is Yehovah, the creator of all things. So when the thrones were cast down, what thrones? All of these. Okay? That would be Babylon, Persia, Greece, and finally Rome, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool, and his throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. And you can go in Ezekiel chapter 1 and get more of a sense of what the throne looks like. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands and it says a thousand ministered unto him, and myriads stood before him, and judgment was set, and the books were open. I beheld, because the voice of the great words which the little horn spoke. I even beheld, till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame. Now, some of this is allegorical, and from the standpoint of the beast is the Roman Empire, but also all the other empires before it. They're all destroyed in the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, okay, so it looks like the Roman body was destroyed, so the Roman Empire was destroyed by the burning flame, and the rest of the beasts had their dominion taken away from them, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. Now, interpreters view the word time as being a year. I do not make such judgments. Okay? I will leave it at that. And I saw the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with, let's look up the word, came from the cloud of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and approached him. And he was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him, and his dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass on, and his kingdom which shall not be destroyed. So Daniel grieved in his ruach in the middle of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. And I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. And he told me and made me to know the interpretation of these things, these great beasts, which are four, or 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth, but the Qaddish of the Most High shall take the kingdom. What is now? It says in English saints, but is that correct? Let's find out. Qaddish would be the Holy One. That would be, and it says, or holy ones. But in this case, it would be the Mashiach. Okay? It should be the Mashiach of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever and ever and ever. And I would know the truth of the 4th beast, Rome, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass. Now, it's important to note that the brass is Greek. What I want you to understand is Western civilization is the spawn of Greece, therefore Rome is the children of Greece, so to speak, which devoured and broke in pieces and trampled. Now see, to tread. There is a word that you need to understand, but it's also written about in Revelation 11 that stamped the residue with his feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Revelation 11. Okay? We have to get context in all of this, otherwise you're going to end up getting the whole truth turned upside down and turned into a false narrative. Okay? So we go to Romans 11. I'm sorry, not Romans 11. We go to Revelation 11. Let me get my computer's racing right now. You can probably hear it. So we're talking about treading down. Now I want you to look at here. The court which is outside the temple, and the temple was up at the time. Okay? It was not destroyed at the time. Leave it out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city they will tread underfoot 42 months. Tread. So we know that the Gentiles that are going to tread, we are talking about over 1,500 years ago, about 2,000, close to 2,000 years ago, where this treading occurred for 42 months. Okay. So siege of Jerusalem. So the whole thing began in 66 and ended in so the Roman destruction of Jerusalem, a key event in the first Jewish-Roman war, 66 to 73 CE. That's 7 years. That is the week of Daniel the prophet. All right? And halfway in the middle. You see, Titus ordered the soldiers not to destroy the temple. Why? Because he wanted to take the artifacts that were in the temple and take it to Rome for a prize and put it on the Arch of Titus later on. Put them on around the Arch of Titus later on. But what happened was The Roman soldiers were so vexed by the Jews, just killing them and vexing them seriously, that he lost control of them. So the covenant that is written about in Daniel 11 is not a covenant between the beast and Israel. Nowhere does it say that. Doesn't say that. It says a covenant with many. What do you mean many? Well, 80,000 soldiers! And the Romans breached, yes, the covenant between Titus and his soldiers were broken when they finally broke through the wall, because it was supposed to be a 7-year siege. He wanted to starve them out. But the Jews were picking the Romans off so badly that they could not abide by Titus's agreement with them, the soldiers. So in the middle of the week, 67, 68, 69, in the middle of the week, 70. All right, those of you who read the Bible, you should understand exactly what I'm talking about. Now, until the time came, okay. But the Qaddish of the Most High shall take the kingdom. That is the Mashiach. Now watch this. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, his nails were of brass, which devoured and broke into pieces, and stamped the rest of his feet, and the 10 horns, which were in his head. Well, the 10 horns is the later Roman Empire, and I've done, and it's online, it's on Google for everybody to see what the 10 horns were. I can name several off the top of my head. One horn would be the horn that's in the Anglo-Saxon Empire in Great Britain, and one is Alemanni, which is the Germans. There's Sueve, there's Heruli, the Vandals. But the Heruli, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths were the ones who were uprooted by the man at the Vatican. You can look that up. Go ahead and do it. I dare you. And of the other of the things which came up, and before whom 3 fell. And Heruli, Vandals, and Ostrogoths. Let's see what comes up. Okay. The Heruli, Vandals, and Ostrogoths were East Germanic tribes that played pivotal roles in the collapse of the Western Roman Empire and the subsequent rise of the papal power in the 5th and 6th centuries. All 3 adhered to Arian Christianity, putting them at odds with the Catholic Church in Rome, and they were largely dismantled through warfare by the Eastern Roman Byzantine Empire and its allies. And there you have it, folks. See what it just did? Now you know who they were. Now you know the timeline of what these 10 kingdoms were. before whom 3 fell. That horn that had eyes and a mouth that spoke great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And I beheld, and the same horn made war with the Qaddish. What? Wait a minute. Hold on. Isn't that the same word? Made war with Qaddish. Well, that would be Yehoshua. And I have told you over and over again that the rejection of the Jewish Messiah as scripted in the Nicene Council, the Nicene Creed, Constantine's Creed, is when this war against the Mashiach himself started. And they rejected the Jewish Messiah. It says so. It says they reject all things Jewish. If they reject all things Jewish, you can go and read it. I just did it in my last couple of videos. If they reject all things Jewish, and that means they reject the Jewish Messiah as well. So they made war with the Holy One. And as it is written in Romans 11, if the first fruit is holy, so is the lump also holy. That means if the root of Jesse is holy, then so are all 12 branches. So you can't make war with the one, the root, and not the other, the branches. So if they make war with the branches, then they make war with the Mashiach, is what I'm saying. So, I'm not trying to parse words here. What I'm saying is that this word Qaddish is in reference to the Mashiach, but it is also in reference to the Jews. You cannot have one without the other. Now that we have got that straightened out, okay, where were we? He made war with the Jews and the Mashiach, and he was, it says, prevailed against them. He was able. He was overpowering. Okay? Just like today. For example, you have the Christian nation, United States of America, making war with Iran, along with the state of Israel making war with Iran. But Israel is not allowed to do any more in Iran than the United States allows them to, because the United States of America has power over Israel, as the whole Roman Empire has power over Israel. Okay? Until the Ancient of Days came. So this horn made war with the Qaddish, and prevailed, was able to have power over them. So they made war with them 66 to 70, however long it was. 66 to 73 CE. All right? We get that established here. Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the what? Qaddish, the Mashiach, and the Jews. Why? because Paul said so of the Most High. And the time came that Qaddish, the Mashiach, Yehoshua, not Jesus, and the Jews possessed the kingdom. And thus he said, so he starts getting a little bit more information here. The fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be different from all the kingdoms, and will eat, devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. And the 10 kings out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be different from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. We already know which kingdoms they subdued. And he shall speak great words against the Most High. I have showed you over and over and over again how the Catholic Church and its leader, the man at the Vatican, blasphemed the name of the Most High, and claimed that the name was taken out of the bowels of a swine. And then another fellow by the name of Martin Luther did exactly the same thing. The Catholic Church did it by way of the Judensau. That Judensau is a blasphemous statement. It is the speaking of the great words against the Most High. I will go and show you that. Right. Great words. So you have, and I can't even read this text, but you have all of these texts right here. And they have the Jewish rabbi reaching into the sow looking for, this is their statement, and this statement, by the way, illustrated statement, is going to get them all thrown in the fire. Reaching for, as they say, Van Shem Hamaforish. The Catholic Church did this. And Martin Luther agreed. And these are supposedly all the Jews sucking from the tits of the swine. That is what he's talking about. Great words against the Most High, and shall wear away the Qaddish of the Most High. And they did it over and over and over and over again. And shall think to change the times and decrees. Well, the change of the decrees occurred at the Nicene Council. Okay? And then times also, because they say we're no longer going to celebrate any Jewish holy days, but they were going to do the Roman ones. And then on top of that, the dragon pope, as they say, Gregory, even changed the calendar. And they shall be given into his hand. Now look, it says they shall be given into his hand until a times, and the dividing of a time. Not for a times, and dividing. You see what you people did? You see what you Christians did? We know that after 3.5 years, they broke in and began treading down the temple and the holy place. But it says, they shall be given to his hand until. It doesn't say until a times and a half a time is over. That's not what it says. We'll go to Revelation 11. Okay. Because the Gentiles, the Romans, tread down the holy city for 42 months, power is going to be given to the two witnesses for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth, for exactly the same amount of time. And these are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the Elohim of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeds out of the mouth and devours their enemies. If any man will hurt them, he must be in this manner be killed. They have the power to shut heaven and the that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over the waters, and turn them into blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. For what reason? Well, it's retaliation for the 3.5 years of destruction upon Jerusalem, as what's obvious here. Now, who are these men? What are they doing? Well, we have to go to, is it 12? Yes, right here. So Revelation 12 gives the summary of what the two witnesses from the time that the Mashiach was born until the two witnesses do their duty. What is their duty? All right. Their duty is, when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth. When was he cast into the earth? When the Mashiach was raised from the dead. He persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. Well, the church did not bring forth the man-child. It was the Jews. Who persecuted the Jews? The church. The Roman Empire. We just read that that's who did it. And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle. By whom? Hold on. That she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for... where she is nourished there for a time and a half. A time. From the face of the serpent. Now, is this a time and a half a time? Could be. Because 1,203 score days is 3.5 years that the two witnesses are putting the plagues of Moshe and EliYah upon. And why would you put the plagues of Moshe and EliYah upon the Gentiles? To gather all Israel back home to their place in the wilderness. You know, the Jews who brought forth the man-child. Is it hard? Is it that hard for you to understand? Is it? And the serpent cast out of his mouth as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up her mouth. That's the great earthquake of Ezekiel 38 and 39. Go look it up. You'll see the great earthquake. And the swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman. He went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yehovah, and have the testimony of Yehoshua HaMashiach. Who are those? The two witnesses. Made war with him and killed him. All right. So we go back to Revelation 11. What does it say? It says, and when they have finished their testimony, The beast which ascends out of the abyssos shall make war against them and shall overcome them. Shall make war against them. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and made war with them, the remnant of her seed. They were still in Roman areas. And once all Israel was gathered up, once the woman, the one who brought forth a man-child, no church involved in here, they are the Jews and graftees of the Gentiles, were brought back at their behest, at the behest of the two witnesses. So until a time and a half a time, until the times and half a time. So they shall wear out the saints of the Most High, wear out the Qaddish of the Most High. That's clearly the Jews. And think to change the times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a times and a half a time. Have you seen the cracked code yet? Until it will continue until the two witnesses arrive. Why? Why? Because Paul said in Romans, he's telling the Romans concerning the Jews, I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? No, but rather because through their misstep salvation has come to the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy. Now, if the Jews are forever the scourge of the earth and the children of the devil, then none of Romans 11 is truthful. But since Paul is the only apostle to the Gentiles, you had better listen to the words of Paul. Now if the stumble, the false step, trespass, be the riches of the world, aka the Gentile world, and diminishing of them being the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? So the implication is here that their fullness, their filling back up again, is going to be greater than the riches of the Gentiles. So the kind of opulence that the Gentiles live in today is going to be nothing compared to the opulence that Israel is going to be living when the times and a half a time comes. How I speak to you Gentiles, as I am the apostle of the Gentiles. See, he is the apostle to the Gentiles. There's no question. Yet they won't listen. The Gentiles will not listen to them. And if they won't listen to Paul, how in the world are they going to be saved? I magnify my office, if by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are of my flesh, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them being the reconciling of the world, what shall be the receiving of them be but life from the dead? They're going to be raised from the dead. If you Gentiles had an opportunity for salvation, all Israel are going to be raised from the dead. Because if the first fruit is holy, the lump is also holy, and if the root be holy, then so are the branches. And if some of the branches were broken off, and you being a wild olive, you were grafted in with, at, by them, and partaking jointly of the root and the fatness of the olive tree. Do not boast against the branches, but you're already guilty. Christianity is 100% guilty. The Gentiles are guilty of disobeying the words of Paul. Because if you boast, you do not bear the root, but the root bears you. You see, you cannot. The branches and the root are still one, even though some of the branches were broken off, but that's only temporary. You will say the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and you now stand by faith. Do not be high-minded, but fear, for if Yehovah, not God, not Deus, spared not the natural branches, he's not going to spare you either. Look at the uprightness, the blessings and severity of Yehovah on them which fell severity, but toward you blessings, if you continue in his uprightness. Otherwise you shall also be cut off. We have, folks, since 325 CE until now, that the Gentiles, bearing the name Christianity, have rejected that uprightness and now are going to be cut off. When? When the times and a half a time begins. What time? Times and half a time. When all Israel is gathered by the two witnesses. That times and a half a time. And they also does not say, if it says before, to stay on, before unbelief. Now, if you read that's not going to make sense to you, but if you read Ezekiel 39, read it all the way through, you will notice that Israel is going to be saved, and then they are going to believe. That doctrine is anathema to Christianity. They absolutely flat out reject it. And because they flat out reject it, they are going to be, the Gentiles, the Christians, are going to be cut off. Shall be grafted in, because Yehovah is able to graft them in again. And you Christians say, no, he's not going to do it. Well, you are liars. For if you were cut out of the olive tree which is wild by nature, and you were grafted contrary to nature into the cultivated olive tree, how much more opportunity, chance, shall these which are of the natural branches be grafted into their own olive tree? For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part happened to Israel until it should read the time of the Gentiles comes to the end, because you can read that in Luke 21, when the times of the Gentiles comes to the end. That's when all Israel shall be saved. All Israel shall be saved, for it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, who will turn away unrighteousness from Jacob. What does that mean? He's going to remove their unrighteousness. All their sins are going to be done away, not remembered anymore. That is the core of the new covenant that Paul wrote about, that Paul copied in Jeremiah 31, verses 31 through 34. Now, you can read here in Hebrews 8. And folks, you should have Hebrews 8, verses 8 through 12 memorized, and you should have Jeremiah 31, verses 31 through 34 memorized. Okay? I will show you. You need to know what the new covenant means before you can partake of the unleavened bread and the wine. You must know. You must understand this. If you don't, you are also drinking unworthily, eating and drinking unworthily. For if that first covenant had been faultless, there shall have been no place to be sought for the second. Let me go to, hold on. For finding fault with him, he said, behold, the days come, says Yehovah, not the Lord. And I will show you that in a minute. I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehudah. Does it say the church? Does not say the church. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, says Jehovah. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel in the after part, says Jehovah. I will put my Torah in their mind and write it in their hearts. And I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know Yehovah, for all shall know me from the least unto the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. That is what Paul was referring to in Romans 11. When I shall take away their sins. Okay? And Paul got that from Jeremiah 31, verses 31 through 34. Oh, you want to say that the words of the Old Testament don't matter anymore. Checkmate. Gotcha. I caught you. I caught you lying. I caught you blaspheming against the words, speaking great words against Yehovah, claiming that his words don't count. Yes, that's what you did. And I think, and you can read Revelation. No, right here. So the rider on the white horse, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him was called Faithful and True. Okay. And what's he doing? He's coming down out of where is it at? And the name is not Jesus, by the way, folks. I just want to show you. The name is Yehoshua. Okay? You see, they decided to replace his name with a Greek, Roman, Druid name because they rejected all things Jewish, as you will read in the Nicene Creed, or the Constantine Creed, however you want to look at it. Okay? And so he comes out of the sky, out of the cloud. Okay? And this whole section right here is concerning the flesh of captains and of mighty men and the flesh of horses. That's what's written in Ezekiel 39. It uses exactly the same verbiage. Okay? Many of you have already on Ash Wednesday put the mark of the beast on your forehead. That's right. Condemning you to the full wrath of Yehovah on Judgment Day. Oh well. I hope you enjoy it.